I couldn't get pregnant, so my husband cheated, and then he got baby trapped with the girl he cheated on me with. Am I the jerk for what I did in response? I'm a 28-year-old female, and I was with my ex-husband for 6 years. During this time, we were trying to have a baby, but had no success. About 4 years into our marriage had a rough patch. My ex had stress and slept with his co-worker to relieve his stress. He confessed to me rather quick, and a week later, they sat me down and told me that they were expecting a child. I was an idiot back then, so I felt like I should forgive him because I truly believed he loved me, and I thought that I had no one. My ex's family treated me like their own, but my ex's supposed daughter was the apple of their eye. As a result, my ex's coworker was a frequent presence in our lives. They felt like they had to include the mom of their grandchild for everything too, and she made her way in every family picture, in every memory. It didn't help that I suspected that the coworker had feelings for my ex and flirted with him when she can. People thought that she was his wife constantly, and I finally had enough during the baby girl's first birthday party when I was told to take a picture of my ex, his mistress, his daughter, and his parents. And this picture didn't include me. I took the picture. It hit me that I was now treated as the other woman, and I realized that I deserve more than this BS. I filed for divorce a few months later and left. It was the hardest time of my life, but I ended up getting a promotion at work and met this sweet, wonderful guy. Fast forward to now, me and my boyfriend are madly in love, and I gave birth to an adorable baby girl that I considered a miracle baby. I got pregnant with my boyfriend like 3 months after dating him, and I thought that it was strange that this could happen since my previous failed attempts with an ex happened, and I thought that I was the infertile one. It crossed my mind then that maybe he was the infertile one, and he only believed his mistress was pregnant with his child because they were having an affair. I didn't say anything though because it was not my place anymore. However, my boyfriend was so happy about my daughter's birth and posted it on Facebook and tagged me in the post. I was still friends with my ex-sister-in-law on Facebook, and she saw the post. She called me up and said that she was hurt that I didn't let her know that I could actually get pregnant, and the lack of child during my first marriage could be my ex's fault. He took a paternity test. The poor baby girl was never my ex-husband's. The coworker apparently was dating this terrible guy during the time she slept with my ex-husband and didn't know who the child's father was. So she just strung my ex along because she had feelings for him and thought he'd be the best father for her child. Now my ex blames me for not telling him that I was pregnant way before and him having to father this girl. He's doing pretty bad now, and I can't help but feeling like I should have told him. So am I the jerk for not telling my ex I got pregnant? I wonder why in the situation with the ex-husband it was already assumed that the wife, the OP here, was the one that was infertile. It sounds like they didn't check and they couldn't have a baby and they just assumed it was her for some reason. It seems like that would have been the very first question to have as soon as this other girl got pregnant. But that entire scenario where she's the one taking the picture of the woman that her husband cheated on with the husband and the baby and the family, that sounds like a nightmare. I can't believe it lasted all the way up until that point before she finally got out, but that whole entire situation sounds like a straight up nightmare. The OP said, my ex-husband and his family were my family and close confidants for a large period of my life. We were pretty close and I promised to keep in touch after the divorce, which they were super upset about. I really couldn't after everything that happened between us. They're now super pissed at me for the divorce and being complicit in my ex taking on the expenses of his not daughter and forming a paternal connection with her for longer than he should have. So even after the divorce, the ex-husband is still blaming her for him wasting more time and money on a kid that's not even his, but he's the one who cheated. So it makes no sense why he's still throwing blame at her even after this whole relationship is long over. So what would you do in this situation, and jerk or not a jerk, and why? Am I the jerk for refusing to sign anything while my eyes are blindfolded? Ever since I got out of the hospital for chronic problems, my husband has been introducing me to some games every evening. One game used to be about doing things while my eyes are blindfolded, involving puzzles, Rubik's cubes, shaped objects, etc. We take turns to do it just for entertainment. Just a couple of days ago, he's been trying to get me to sign papers while wearing a blindfold. I refuse to do it because he never lets me take a look at what I'm signing, neither before or after. He says that he was just trying to see if I could leave the same signature every time I sign, but I couldn't help but feel uncomfortable. I told him I didn't want to play this game unless he shows me the papers first, but then he would say, never mind then, and stop bringing it up. Last night, he tried to convince me to give it a try and even volunteered to go first. I asked if he was going to show me what I was going to sign, and he made a face and said no. It's the rules and I should respect them. I refused, and he kept on about how I keep acting worried and suspicious for no reason. He said I clearly don't trust him, and he was hurt by finding that out now after everything we've been through. We had an argument and I told him to drop it and not bring it up again, period. period. He was mad despite saying it was no big deal. He was obviously upset with me and kept talking about how I don't trust him and that I was out of line to assume or suspect anything from him like this. I might be paranoid, but I couldn't help it. I do think I was the jerk to him after he stood by my side when my own family didn't even visit. But am I the jerk for refusing to sign anything while my eyes are blindfolded? This sounds like the weirdest con job of all time, because how are you going to go into court and then say, oh yeah, I didn't sign that with my eyes closed. I was blindfolded when I signed it. Pretty much no one would believe you. And then you would have to say, yeah, that is my signature, but I was blindfolded. And everyone there would say, why did you sign this when you were blindfolded? And you'd have to explain this story that sounds really, really dumb about how you played games where you would solve Rubik's Cubes with your eyes closed and then you would sign things. Some people in response to this thought that maybe the husband is trying to get her to sign financial documents, a loan, a will, property, divorce papers. It could be really anything. You guys can take a guess of what you think he might be trying to get her to sign. But the fact that he won't let her look at what she's signing is the strangest part, because if he's really doing it to see if her signature is the same or whatever, then why not just show her, hey, this is a blank piece of paper? The way that he's doing it is just so sketchy that how could it not seem weird? So let me know what you guys think he's trying to make her sign, if anything, and jerk or not a jerk, and why. Am I the jerk for being hostile and rude to my sister's boyfriend over a joke he told my wife? My sister is 26 years old and she brought her 30-year-old boyfriend over to our parents' house to meet him for the first time. My wife and I came as well. We met the dude. He seemed okay-ish at first, but then started asking weird and personal questions. My wife had breast cancer and got a single mastectomy last year. She told the story to my sister's boyfriend and he was like, oh. Then stared at my wife briefly, then playfully said, without even asking, I can pretty much tell which one got the blow. We were floored. My wife could barely keep a straight face. She lied so she could leave the table because she was literally about to tear up. I just looked at the dude and said, are you serious? And he said, what? I was just joking, bro. I started asking him to explain the joke to me. He just stared. I asked him again to explain it to me in detail, but still got no answer. My sister asked me to stop because clearly he got uncomfortable, but I insisted he explain the joke to me clearly. My wife and I didn't get it. Things got awkward with him avoiding eye contact while I just stared at him the entire time. I still insisted and asked him to explain the joke right then and there, but seconds later he said he needed to step outside to make a phone call. Turns out he got in his car and left. My sister had a meltdown, screaming and berating me for how I treated her boyfriend, calling me hostile with anger issues to scare her boyfriend out of our parents' house. I told her he was overstepping and made my wife uncomfortable to the point of crying. She actually called my wife such a princess and said she is soft and cannot take some teasing. I had an argument with her and my parents intervened. I took my wife and left. My dad called me later and said that he understood how hurt my wife felt, but my sister's boyfriend was visiting for the first time and I showed hostility and aggression instead of just ignoring him. He encouraged me to reach out to him and my sister later on and talk it out, but I declined. So am I the jerk for being hostile and rude to my sister's boyfriend over a joke he told my wife about her mastectomy? It sounds like the OP just wanted him to explain the joke. There's nothing wrong with just wanting to understand the joke and asking him to explain it, because maybe there was something funny he missed. About the whole alternative way to handle the situation by ignoring him, if they're worried about being rude, maybe that's even more rude because you're ignoring what he's saying instead of saying anything else. And in this case, he's really trying to understand what is the joke. But zooming out of this whole thing, I'm surprised that the wife even brought up the mastectomy to begin with, because whether the joke was made or not, it seems like it's kind of a sore subject. Or maybe it wasn't until he brought this up. It's hard to tell with what we know here. So if somebody said this joke to your wife, what would you do? Let me know down below, and jerk or not a jerk, and why. Am I the jerk for refusing to put my packaged snacks back in the fridge per my husband's request? I'm a 34-year-old female, I'm diabetic, and keeping packaged snacks near me is essential because oftentimes I get low blood sugar due to issues I have with appetite. I don't eat lunch or dinner properly. My brother-in-law and his pregnant wife moved in with us a month ago. The issue began when my sister-in-law started eating snacks that I usually keep inside the fridge. I tried buying more snacks, but sometimes they run out and I end up drinking water mixed with sugar in the middle of the night because I don't have anything else to eat and my husband won't go out to the store and get me anything. I told my husband and he told me to be patient with his brother's wife because she's pregnant and is considered sort of sick, so she needs to be cut some slack. I've had it, to be honest. I moved all of my snacks into the bedroom and inside of a box just to keep them safe. My sister-in-law said it was strange that I no longer buy snacks, but I told her that I actually still do. I just keep them safe in my room so that no one can touch them. She side-eyed me, then an argument ensued after my husband and his brother came home. My husband berated me for being rude to my sister-in-law and childish for moving the snacks snacks and keeping them in the bedroom. I told him why I did that though. He knew what was up, but he said I overreacted and that there was no harm in sharing. He demanded that I put whatever snacks I have back into the fridge and stop acting like a child, but I said that I won't. And if his sister-in-law and her husband get upset, then they need to understand that I am diabetic and I need those snacks essentially. He yelled in my face, calling me childish, and then he walked out. Both my brother-in-law and sister-in-law are cold shouldering me, and my husband keeps pushing for me to put the snacks back into the fridge where they belong, or he won't speak to me as well. So am I the jerk for refusing to put my packaged snacks back into the fridge per my husband's request? So the obvious first question is, why doesn't the pregnant wife or the OP's brother-in-law, the pregnant wife's husband, just buy their own snacks? Why is there a necessity that everyone shares the exact same snacks? That makes no sense. And then the pregnant sister-in-law is asking, hey, did you stop buying those snacks? I want to eat those snacks. Then why don't they just get the snacks? This is such a strange, petty situation with the OP being the one who legitimately needs it the most, assuming, of course, that the pregnant sister-in-law has other food and they're not just completely relying on these snacks to survive. In most cases, snacks are a convenience thing where it's you want food right then and there, you get a little snack, you have it, but as long as they have access to regular food, there shouldn't be anyone taking away these essential snacks from the diabetic person in the house. You can almost feel the panic in the way that the OP is writing because it seems like nobody is willing to understand or relate that she legitimately does need these snacks around. But let me know what you would do if you're in this situation, and jerk or not a jerk, and why. Am I the jerk for kicking my sister out of the house at night because she threw away all of my food? I seriously can't believe this is a thing, but my parents are upset at me. My sister and I grew up together, but aren't very close. It wasn't really from any drama. We didn't have a big fight to cause distance, but rather just have opposite personalities and interests. If I had to describe my attitude towards my sister, it would be apathetic love. Like, she's my sister, so I want her to be healthy and be happy, but we just unfortunately don't hang out, call the chat, etc. She recently received an opportunity to interview for a job near our hometown and reached out to see if she could stay with me for a week. My mother was ecstatic that my sister might be coming home finally. She moved across country right after college and hasn't been back in almost 10 years except for Christmas. She spends Thanksgiving with her in-laws or the one-off birthday/business trip/vacation. I was more than happy to open up my home, thinking that we could maybe bond or deepen our relationship. It was all kind of awkward, but nothing horrible until the third night. I came home from drinks with my friends around 10 p.m., went into my kitchen for a snack, and realized that almost all of my food was gone. I am not even exaggerating. I swear 90% of my pantry was just gone. I asked my sister, and she told me that she was shocked I ate anything with preservatives and anything unnatural in it, and that I was, quote, poisoning my body. So she took it upon herself to throw away everything that she deemed unhealthy. Guys, I am talking about so much food, both packaged and unpackaged. Even things like spices that weren't fresh were tossed. It was like someone had robbed my kitchen. I demanded that she pay to replace everything, but she dug her heels in and said that she was doing me a favor and that the way that I ate was disgusting. These were her literal words. I know I'm biased, but my diet isn't even crazy. It's pretty much just standard food you can find in any grocery store. I was so upset that I made her pack up and leave. She ended up having to take a cab about 30 minutes away to stay with my parents. My mother is absolutely devastated that we're fighting and insists that I apologize in order to keep the peace because she really hopes my sister will take the job and move back. I told my mom if she wanted to lose not one but both daughters, then she'd keep pushing for me to apologize for something I feel I have a right to be upset about. My dad says that she's been crying every night though, and I love my mom so much I feel like a huge jerk for being stubborn about this situation. So, am I the jerk for kicking out my sister from my house at night because she threw away all of my food? It is wild that people actually do this, that somebody would be a guest in your home and then take it upon themselves to just either destroy, remove, or change anything about that house. I feel like some people have the complete opposite approach where they don't even want to touch anything to put anything out of place because they know it's not their home, and other people make themselves so at home that they will just do something like this. And there was actually an update to this where she answered a few questions. She did say that she did invite her sister to go out for the drinks with her, but she declined, saying that she didn't like going to dive bars and wanted to stay sober because it was a work trip. So she said that she respected that decision, but she went out anyway because it was her girlfriend's birthday. And when the OP actually did the math to calculate how much food was thrown away, it was close to $1,000 worth of food. Everything from dried pasta, ground beef, pre-cut veggies in a container, juice, canned soup, rice, chicken broth, leftovers, and even bread because it was white bread. I always wonder in situations like this, how did the sister expect the OP to react when she saw all of this? this? Did she think that she was really going to come home and say, oh, wow, thank you so much for throwing away $1,000 worth of food. I was meaning to do that, but I just didn't get around to it. So thanks so much. It almost seems like the sister did that to start something like this or to push as far as she could. But let me know what you would do if you came home and someone threw away about $1,000 worth of your food, and jerk or not a jerk, and why.